Hey, and welcome to another episode of Disrupt Your Now. This is the show for people who are sick and tired of checking off the boxes. It's your life and you can make it anything you want. And so I talk with entrepreneurs about what they're doing in their life to take control of it and or what they've learned in the past through their mistakes and just their journeys. So today I'm excited to bring in Jilly Morey. Jilly is the sister of Ron Garrett, who those of y'all who follow me is a dear friend. He may as well be my brother, and he's the father of the NASCAR driver, the professional race car driver that I work with. And Jilly and her husband have created a duo, their singer-songwriter duo. They've had 2 EPs. It is so amazing. In their 50s, y'all. They are living the dream. So welcome to the show, Jilly.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I forgot to say that you're in St. Louis.
We are.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anybody here from St. Louis, say hey to Jilly. All right, Jilly, give us some of your background and fill us in on how you got to where you are today.
You bet. So I guess I'll start with, I'm a Michigan farm kid. Started out, just a little kid growing up on a farm. And then my parents divorced when I was 9, 10. And so we ended up moving to the city, kind of roundabout, but we ended up in St. Louis when I think I was 12, 12 or 13. And so St. Louis feels like home. Michigan does too, but I've been in St. Louis for a long time, kind of, went away and came back. And so it definitely feels like home. My training, sort of my college career path was in teaching. It is in teaching. So I'm a full-time teacher.
What do you teach? Like what grade levels?
Right. So right now I'm teaching high school, 9th through 12th, and I'm certified in history and French and teaching English, sort of teachers of English to speakers of other languages, which I just love. Right now I'm kind of, my main job is to support any student who's working on reading and writing, kind of with my certifications. I can support anybody who needs some content help and so
that's cool.
I love it. I feel like I get paid, I'm a full-time teacher and I get to be a one-on-one tutor all day long. So
that is so cool. And that's so important for kids because so many kids are not good at reading or writing. And it doesn't really matter what you do in your work. Now you need to be able to write more so than ever. Maria is on here. I guess you know her. She says, hey there from St. Louis. We love Jill David and Lost in the Metro.
Great.
Yeah. For those of y'all who aren't familiar with Jilly, I can't remember if I said it. Her band is called Lost in the Metro. So, okay. So sorry for interrupting, but so that's really cool that you're doing that. And what a great age group to be able to do that with.
Yeah. And I feel like it's taken me years to kind of develop my skills, but boy, I've got a skill set now. So
yeah, that's really cool. My sister teaches Spanish and she speaks some French and she teaches English as a second language.
Oh, great.
So y'all would have a lot in common also.
Absolutely. And I love it. It definitely gets me up in the morning. So
so tell us how y'all started this crazy journey into music.
It's so crazy. So my husband and I have been together now for 26 years. And when we were first married, he was playing music. Sorry, I got to get the dog's bone out of the way.
That's fine. We would love to see the dog too. If he wants to.
Great, you bet. So we've been married for a long time. And when we were first married, my husband, David, played with his brother. He played professionally for a while, just around the Midwest. And he learned a lot. He really, sort of dipped his toes in what it feels like to play to, full rooms of people, empty rooms, bartenders. And so he had a great experience that way. And I grew up singing with our mom. My mom was, she was a lovely woman and she sang quite a bit and she was a pianist. And that's where we sort of got our foundation for music. And so when David and I got married, when we moved back to St. Louis, we just kind of put that aside, careers just you
Yeah,
know?
life takes over, right?
Yeah, and you think you're going down a certain path and
Mhm.
you just stay on the path, and I think, I think we just had so many more, focus areas,
Mhm.
that, we just didn't do music for a long time,
Mhm.
but we've listened to music for a long time, and we have music in common, so, we just that's always been a bond for us is kind
Yeah.
of the music we listen to.
I'm gonna be curious now, what kind of music do y'all listen to?
Wow. We listen to a lot.
Very
I'm
eclectic, huh?
really eclectic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, there's this amazing guy on TikTok right now. I've been sort of following him, and his name is Dax, I think, and
Mhm.
he's like a rapper and a singer, and he's incredible. I love watching him and following him because he's
Mhm.
so talented. We listen to it all. We listen to classical music and country, and I love Macklemore. Like he's kind of a
Mhm.
fun. I love him, and so we spend a lot of time listening to a lot of different types of
Mhm.
music, and I feel like our students teach us so much
Yeah.
about music too, and that's been wonderful because I feel like we're very open to learning.
And the kids appreciate that. It kills me how people well, I'm 61. It kills me how people in our age group are like, they're acting
Yeah, yeah,
again. They're acting like
absolutely,
old fogies and
yeah.
curmudgeons about the music. And I'm like, oh my God. Do y'all even remember being teenagers or kids? I remember when Grand Funk Railroad's album came out and adults were like freaking out and it was the devil and all that.
Yeah,
And so kids
absolutely.
appreciate it when you appreciate them and
Yeah,
their
and they teach us so much. I think they really do keep us young and just
Mhm.
help us understand, kind of teenagers these days. So we're open to listening to so much music, and I feel like that has helped us develop, an appreciation for our students too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I think one of the ways that David and I have kind of managed our careers, and the stresses of
Mhm.
teaching is that every few years we just kind of go a different direction, kind of either a different subject because both of us have different certifications. So
Okay.
French for a while, teach history for a while,
Mhm.
teach at a different school, and I feel like that's really helped me kind
Sorry,
of.
I just popped my beer can.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
It's helped us both kind of
Mhm.
maintain our equilibrium in the teaching world.
What does
And
he teach?
so he teaches Spanish right now, but he also his job is international student coordinator.
Mm.
So he's very organized. He's much more organized than I am, and so he supports all of the international students at our school with
Oh.
visas and making sure their passports are up to date and doctor's appointments and dentist
Oh,
appointments.
that's cool. I didn't even know that they had anybody like that in the school systems.
Oh yeah,
Well, I
he's got
imagine a lot of them
to-do
don't.
list. Yeah, he's got
Yeah,
a to-do list, and he's very organized.
that's
So
cool. So you're both teachers,
yeah,
but you both have this interest in music.
yeah, absolutely. And so a few years ago, I think it was 6 years ago now, we were both working at the same school, and this I think we're now at our fourth school that we've worked at
Mm.
together, which is fun. So
Yeah.
and so we were both working at the same school, and there was a teacher cover band at this particular school, and David was getting to know the guys who worked there, and one of them, the lead singer of the band, asked if he could play an instrument, and they needed a bassist, and he plays bass and guitar,
Okay.
and he said, "Sure, I'd love to do that." And so he played. They discovered he was, pretty good,
Mhm.
and so they asked him to continue to play with them, and it was for talent shows at school, and just kind of fun football
Yeah.
games, fun events at that particular school. And then the next year, so funny. The next year they asked him to play again, and then they found out he could sing. He has a good voice, and So they asked him to do some more, and then they were all trying to do "Pretender" by the Foo Fighters,
Oh yeah.
and none of them could sing that high.
Uh-huh.
And so David was like, I think I know somebody who maybe could sing that. My wife maybe could do it.
Mhm.
And he came home and was like, would you be willing to work that up and see if maybe, that would work for this teacher cover band? So I did, and it was really fun. We hired a vocal coach for
Uh-huh.
just that month that I was going to get it ready, and then and she and I connected on such a great level that was I think 5 years ago that I've been taking vocal lessons from her every week.
Oh, that's cool.
Going on 5 years now. I've been with a vocal coach, which has been really wonderful. So I got ready for it, and I tried out in the lead singer's basement, and it was so funny, like a very funny sort of alpha male experience where
Yeah.
I had to go in and just give it my all, with Pretender, and it went pretty well. And as soon as the song was done, they were like, "Okay, okay." And I think I was in. I was in.
Oh, cool. Uh-huh.
And so we got that ready. We got a few other songs ready, and we played in a talent show that year at the school. And from that talent show, we got a couple of gigs.
Oh
So,
my gosh. So that band, that cover band got a couple of gigs.
yes, exactly. And
Fun.
really fun. At least we got one gig from that, and
Mhm.
then I think we got two, and then that spring, that particular band lead singer was like, "Okay, everybody go home. Everybody write songs over the summer. We'll come back at the end of the summer. We'll see what we've got and see how we can go forward with this."
Mhm.
It was so funny. And David and I, that was the summer where we realized we could write music together.
Oh.
And it started out, he just plays around. He was playing riffs, and he, kind of finds a melody and works on it. And I was in the kitchen doing something, getting yogurt for our daughter or something. And I realized that I was sort of singing one of the poems that I
Oh.
was writing to his riff. And I
Wow.
ran around the corner and I was like, "Can you play that again? Can you play it again?" And I sang to it. And I've been writing poetry since I was about 9. And so it
Mhm.
was just a way to process my parents' divorce, and I just didn't
Yeah.
know kind of how to process
Yeah.
that. So the poetry has always been a great way for me to kind of get out emotion
Mhm.
and just deal with hard stuff.
Yeah.
And so and that kind of connection there with his riff and that and those lyrics was our first song. And
Wow.
we just finished the other night. We just finished our 68th song, and
Golly, that's crazy, and it's only 5 years,
yeah, and we sent
right?
it to copyright. So we just copyrighted our 68th song.
Oh
So
my gosh.
crazy. So, but sorry. So we did our homework, and I think we wrote 8 songs that summer. I
Did
think
anybody else even write any?
no,
I knew it, I knew it. Everybody else is like, "Yeah, whatever. Go
no.
on and do their thing."
Maybe one of the guys in the band did, but he didn't bring them, back to
Yeah.
school. So we were the only ones. And by the fall, we realized that we were heading in our own direction of songwriting. And we were doing like more than a song a month
Wow.
at that point. And we were like, okay, we got to keep going. So we decided at that moment to invite some friends over
Mhm.
in the neighborhood to see if they wanted to play with us. And they did. Our band was kind of born from that funny cover band experience. And
That's wild. It just goes to show you that you never know what opportunity might be around the corner, and that's why it's so important that we stay open-minded and that we're like,
right,
try things because you
right.
just don't ever know.
You never know. And I remember being 6 years old and thinking to myself, I would love to be a professional singer. I
Mhm.
remember thinking that to myself and singing as this little farm kid probably
Oh,
singing to the horses, who knows?
yeah.
But and then just, life sort of comes and you sort of lose track of your dreams so easily.
Yeah,
And I
because
think
we feel like there are things that we have to do, and I get it. I
yeah,
tell people it's not like I'm stupid and I don't
right,
realize we have to make a living and everything, but
right,
we forget how to dream and we forget how to imagine, and
right,
that's why I tell a lot of my clients, try to look in the mirror and see that child that you were when
right.
and especially if you're feeling down on yourself,
Yep,
look at an old picture of yourself and go, would you want that little kid to feel like this?
right.
Or tune back into what that little kid might have dreamed of because we forget because we box it off.
Absolutely. And that little kid in me was really suffering for a long time, sort of during, my
Yeah, I
parents'
imagine.
divorce. And I think I wrote really bad poetry for a really long time, but it helped me get through whatever I needed to get through. And it helped me process pain in
Yeah.
a way and start to be able to express that
Mhm.
in
Well,
ways
and
that
nobody starts out doing it perfectly, and
right.
I never was a poet, but I can totally empathize, with the hard childhood because my, grandfather killed himself when I was 5, and my grandmother tried to 3 years later, and it was just one thing after another,
Yeah,
And, you just if you don't figure out a way to deal with it, it
right.
can destroy lives even more.
Right, right, absolutely. And I think I think I didn't realize how fulfilling this was going to be. It
Mhm.
just was sort of a direction and kind of,
Yeah.
oh, this is so fun. But it has reached into something from my childhood and kind of pulled me up in a way that I was not expecting. And I think, part of me was just I sometimes people call us late bloomers, like both David and I, or we thought of ourselves as late bloomers. But I
Mhm.
think I don't know if I believe in the whole late bloomer thing. I think
Yeah.
you blossom when you're ready to bloom.
I agree with you, and I'm one of these people that I think not to sound all woo woo, but everything in life happens for a reason. That doesn't mean bad things should
Right.
happen, but they've happened and you can't get rid of it. So figure out a way to learn from it and grow from it. It doesn't mean like right then, but you are the only person in the world who has your unique experiences.
Right.
So, therefore, within your unique experiences, you are the only person who can bring that to other people and
Mhm.
help them in some way, whether it's just through joy, through
Yeah.
listening to your music, or through healing and dealing with their own emotions through
Yeah.
listening to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I didn't realize, the poems were so personal.
Yeah.
And part of the songwriting process that has been amazing for me, and I think for David too, is how we can take something that's such a personal experience for me and we can turn it into something that's more universal.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been a process for me because it was hard for me to let go of certain lyrics that
I
would be,
bet.
kind of more a very personal story. But
Mhm.
I feel like David's and my communication has gotten better in the sense that we're able to make it more of a more universal and more meaningful for more people, but
Mhm.
also maintain that really important seed, of truth in
Yeah.
your song. And I feel like that's why I love her music, is I feel like there's this sort of seeds of truth in it for
Mhm.
me, that's very fulfilling. And
I really like it. I was listening to it the other night and I really like it. And
thank you.
there's not like one particular style, that y'all have. And I really appreciate that. My father was a professional musician, but he owned a music and appliance store, but he
Cool.
also was a professional musician. And when we were little bitty, he played in a band for a woman who she at the time was called the female Elvis. She was like a teenage or uh,
Wow, neat.
woman, and she tried to get him to go to Nashville with her and
Mhm.
everything, and he wouldn't go because of us. He gave up his dreams or whatever
Sure.
because of us, but he still played in bands for decades. I still run into
Right.
people who he taught to play music, or their parents played in the band with him. And music just touches so many people in so many different ways.
Absolutely. And for me, I know that I have to connect with the lyrics of a song. And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter how good musically the song is. If I don't connect with the lyrics, I'm going to turn the channel,
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of an interesting. And David, it'll be a song we've heard for years. And I'll be singing along, and David will be like, "Oh, does it say that?" And he'll realize he's so focused on the guitar parts,
Yeah.
bass parts, or whatever and then he'll realize, oh yeah, that is what it says.
Yeah. I'm going to read a couple of the comments.
Cool.
Robin says, well, first she said that y'all are the best two teachers out there. And then she said, helps those who listen heal in their own experience. Absolutely, Robin.
That's so
And
sweet.
Maria says, you're courageous to share your lyrics. What a gift it is to so many people who find their story in yours. And that's the thing, people who aren't able to express themselves verbally or through writing like that, like you said, it is universal. Most feelings in some way, somebody can relate to them. So the fact that you're brave enough to open up and share those deep personal feelings, you just never know who it might touch.
I love that. I love that. It really is meaningful. And I find too, we talked a little while ago about being introverted.
Mm-hmm.
And both David and I are extremely introverted. And I find that sharing the lyrics is the most extroverted that I can be. It's
Mhm.
big. It's kind of, you just open yourself up. But it also feels good that way. Sort of, I'm sharing part of who I am and part of
Yeah.
how I became who I am.
Yeah, who you were, how you got here, what you've learned and the hopefulness that you can overcome these things, which I was gonna say, y'all are such an inspiration and role model, or role models to your students also, because a lot of people, adults included, we go, oh, I'm whatever age, my life is over,
Right.
my life sucks, or
Right.
whatever. And y'all are just kicking up your heels and having fun and getting started on this journey. So what a great gift to your students for them to be able to look at y'all and go, oh no, once you get to that age, you don't have to be some dumpy,
Right.
groucho curmudgeon. You can still have
Right.
fun and be individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. And I do feel that
Mhm.
we have students who follow us, and
Mhm.
they'll say, "Oh, I love, this particular song," or, "Oh, I love this new song that
Aw,
that you put out." And they're I do think it's a little surprising to students, because
I'm sure.
their perspective, if they're 15 and we're 50,
Oh, we're ancient.
right, they're like, "What are you doing?"
The other year, I was talking to my sister, and I said something about. I was trying to describe to her some woman. I was like, "Oh, I don't know. She's older. She's probably in her 50s." I'm like, "Wait, I'm 58 at the time." Like, I'm
Right.
58 now. I'm like, "Damn,
Right.
I'm older than Grandma was when I thought she was ancient."
Right, but I think I was falling into the trap too before the music. I think I was falling into the trap of thinking, well, our path is set, and
Yes.
we're going to be teaching at this particular school
Mhm.
forever. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll run some races. And I didn't realize how big life still is for us.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so
You
much.
know?
I love that. How big life still is.
Yeah, and there are so many paths that you can take, and
Mhm.
I feel like, but for me, part of it is also being open to that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking,
And most people aren't,
yeah, yeah,
either because they're afraid
yeah,
to try, or afraid of being disappointed, or whatever, afraid of
mhm,
failure, or they're just so close-minded, they're so focused with their nose to the grindstone that they just don't even look up.
right,
And
and
so a lot of times you look at people and you think, oh my God, they have it all. They're so
yeah,
successful. And they may, from the outside, seem like they do. They have the big house, the fancy cars, they're members of the right clubs and stuff. But they're really what I call, they're in a fur-lined mousetrap. They can't get out of it. And they
yeah,
put themselves in this fur-lined mousetrap and they see no escape. But to the outside world, they look like they haven't made. And everybody thinks, with social media, it's so easy to
mhm,
see because everybody puts the good stuff out there,
right,
but
right,
it's like that in real life.
mhm,
People always are going to put forth that face.
Right.
obviously the saying, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. So it's not just
Right.
social media.
Right. That's so true. And I think sharing the lyrics is a little more of sharing that kind of what's going
Mhm.
on behind closed doors, or, a lot of it is kind of processing even sort of the challenges my parents had, and kind of
Yeah.
my perspective, or from my mom's perspective. And I
And now that you're older, you're able to look at that differently.
right, right.
It still hurts. You
Yep,
still went through what you went through. It doesn't
right.
invalidate any of the feelings that you have, but as adults, we're able to be like, "Oh, our parents were just human too. They were doing the
Absolutely.
best that they could
Yep.
with the tools that they had."
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for a long time I did operate, from fear, kind of
Mhm.
fear of failure. You kind of, I know in my life I've chosen kind of what am I good at and what am I least likely to fail at.
Yeah.
And I think I had to be pushed. I think I had to take that chance, even if it's a high school talent show. I
Yeah,
had to
but
take that
still,
chance. And it
most people would have never done that.
was so
They would never have been able to get up there and do that,
and
and
yeah,
especially taking the voice lessons for a month and doing the
yeah,
tryout and everything. It's one thing to get up there one time and say something or
right.
whatever and then just run away, but
Yeah.
you invested in it emotionally and time-wise before you even knew if you would be
For
chosen
sure.
to do
For
it.
sure. Yeah. And I think, we didn't know. We didn't know if it was gonna just be that, spring
Mhm.
or the summer, but we've just enjoyed the process so much. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of it too, is we found some sort of groove where it was enjoying the creative process, spending time with each other. I think it's been great for our marriage,
I was gonna leave that's a great, entree because I was gonna say at a time when so many couples, their kids are growing up, they're
Yep.
moving out, that's when so many people divorce because all of a sudden they look around and they're like, "Okay, I don't even like you anymore,"
Yeah.
and there's nobody else to be that buffer,
Yeah.
and when most people are going the other way, y'all are
Mhm.
rediscovering each other. And I
Yeah.
bet your relationship is better than it's ever been, or at least as good as it's ever been, because you
Yeah.
have this new exciting thing that you're doing together.
It
It's not like
is.
he's doing it and you're supporting him or vice versa.
Right, right. It is probably the best example of sort of an equal partnership
Mhm.
when we sort of every relationship, it's never 50-50.
Right.
It's like every day it's different with every
Mhm.
or every and we have a 9-year-old daughter, and I feel
You
like,
said 29-year-old?
9.
Oh, 9. Oh my gosh.
Nine.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yep, and, that's a whole story in itself. That'll be yeah, it's an awesome story. And so I feel like when we come into the music room and we, start work, it's amazing because it is such a cool partnership. And
Mhm.
it's just like, it's another chapter, but it is coming into a different room of our marriage
Yeah,
too.
it's almost like date night, but
Yeah.
a productive date night.
It is so cool, and so, that's been really wonderful to be able to work together and kind of, um, learn more about each other in
Yeah,
this.
I
Mhm.
love that, and see, y'all have been together, what, 26
Yep,
years? And
yep,
most people would think, "What else can you learn about somebody when you've been with them for 26 years?"
yeah.
There is always something else left to learn, but
There
that's what
is.
happens. We get so jaded, we get
Mhm,
so we take all the outside pressures and
mhm.
we put the like, we kinda, like, dump them on our relationship. This is an entrepreneur show. Sorry,
Right,
this is an entrepreneur show, not
right,
a therapy
right.
show, but in my opinion, business is life and life is business. That's the way I've always built my business. So this is very relevant to that, to, you know,
Yeah,
try to look at everything holistically and,
mhm.
look at the person that you're with again as a human and pretend
Yeah.
like you don't even know them. And what would you think of them if you were just meeting them?
Yeah, and I feel like too, we've had some really healthy role reversal.
Mhm.
I think, I tended to just rely on him for kind of dealing with the financial stuff in the
Yeah.
marriage, and of course, I've been making my own money for a long time, but still I realized that was definitely kind of
Mhm.
more in his field or his area.
Yeah.
And I realized with the band, kind of early on, I was doing more because he wants to write music. He plays awesome. He comes up with these cool riffs. He wants to write the music and play the music. Like that's what he loves.
Yeah, that's it. Doesn't want to do the rest.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and
so you're handling more of the business end of it.
Yeah, I was more interested in the business side of it, and I, you know, asked my brother tons of advice. You know, what do we do?
And people don't realize that being a musician, just like anything else, it is a business. Y'all are entrepreneurs. And you, yes, you love your music, and yes, you're pouring your heart into your music and communicating your feelings. But behind that, there has to be a strategy, a plan, you know, focus. What do you want your direction to be, and all of that?
Absolutely. There's got to be, you know, the branding. Kind of, we had to go through the trademark process, the copyright process, you know, the kind of figuring out the LLCs and you know what that's going to look like. Are we our own publishing house, which we are? You know, it's just all this kind of crazy stuff that we had to learn over the last 5 years, and some of it had to come together really quickly. If we were going to be performing our music, it was like, oh, we got to get that copyrighted, or you know, whatever. So we've learned a lot, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but you know, that's also, I realized, part of building a new business. And
if you don't make mistakes, you're not doing anything.
Right. And so, you know, finding distribution houses for our music and figuring out, did we want to try to have a manager? Do we, you know, at some point, what PR firms do we trust? And we kind of went through a few kind of promo or PR firms that really didn't deliver, you know, what we were looking for. And so And now we've found these, you know, trusted kind of partners, and that's 5 years into it, and really relied on my brother and my sister, and her family, her kids, because they're all high school, college students. We'd have tech questions, and we have this shared thread, you know.
Oh, good.
What do I do with this now? You know, they were great. So
that's so funny. That reminds me, this is a little bit off topic, but on the page on my website with the videos of the shows at the top, the popular ones, there's one on there with my cousin who the very first band he ever signed was Grammy nominated. Remember that song, the band called The Presidents, the song 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 Years of Love?
Yeah.
That he discovered them in DC and talked them into, he wasn't even in the music field. You should listen to my show with him. His name's Charles Kipps. You should listen to my show with him, because it's just really interesting how he just, and so anyway, I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Absolutely.
So y'all have the one kid, the 9-year-old?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so, you know, that's a whole life story in itself. But when I was, let's see, I think I was 35, and I was having health problems and endometriosis and different issues that were just really, really tough. And and basically we had to make a decision. And after that, we would have to choose adoption if we wanted to have a child. And that's, you know, that's the path we took. And it was the right thing to do. I needed to take care of my health, and I needed to have some procedures, and I'm glad that I did that. And then we just knew that if we were going to raise a child, that we would, you know, choose adoption.
Yeah, someone very close to me, and I won't say who they are for their own privacy, is going through the same thing. They know that if they ever have a child, it will be through adoption.
Yeah.
So, and they're fine with that. They're happy, you know, but still there is that feeling of loss.
Yeah.
You know, because
but I tell you, like, again, I feel like the universe is amazing and connected in ways that we will never fully understand. Yeah. And our daughter is just incredible. I mean, if you could have
That's cool.
picked a child and, you know, said, this is going to be the child you raise. This child is going to call you mama and papa. And, you know, this birth mom's going to, you know, pick you. It's just, she was just right.
That is so cool.
And for us, you know, teaching us. And
yeah. And look at all the lessons y'all are teaching her. When you're our age, you're still a person and you will still have your own interests and
Absolutely.
your own life. Your life is still ahead of you. Okay, now Big Brother is coming on and telling us what to do. Ron, we do what we want. Ron says, I'm late to the show. You talked about the pay-to-play parallel with racing and pay-to-play with music. No, we haven't. But for anybody who is not familiar with professional racing, it's totally different now than it used to be decades ago. It used to be teams had sponsors and they hired drivers. Now drivers have to pay to race. They bring their own sponsor. So whoever has the money is who gets the seat. So tell us about how that is in the music world.
Yeah. So, so these days, you know, if you don't get signed, and I follow a lot of people on TikTok who are like, don't sign.
Yeah. And that's what my cousin would say.
Yeah. It's better to be independent at this point because everything is just so saturated right now, you know? And so, so we spend a lot of our marketing, a lot of our, you know, sort of band funds on marketing ourselves. But it has taken us a lot of time to find trusted marketing firms, sort of PR firms that really help us in the direction we want. So that's been a lesson. And I feel like, you know, we definitely spent money where we shouldn't have, just figuring that out.
Oh, and any business would.
Yeah.
Any business would.
Yeah.
So this gives us a good segue into the thing in St. Louis in June. So tell us about what y'all are doing. You're playing.
Sure. So this is so fun. So this is not like, it wasn't a promo, but we do pay a marketing firm to advertise us, you know, countrywide, Facebook, Instagram, a bunch of online magazines. So, you know, every year we kind of have this strategy meeting with a marketing firm, and they're like, okay, this is where people will find you, you know, and they make plans, we do interviews, they set up interviews for us. And then, and so that has helped a lot because that's how people discover us. So the gentleman at Busch Stadium, and I believe his name is Sam Roberts, found us. And I think it was probably through our PR company advertising us, and invited us to take part in a musicians showcase at Busch Stadium. And so it happens in the sort of the 100 level, you know, as you're walking in, there are different stages. And so there's a small stage somewhere, and we will be playing June 11th, sometime between gates opening and the national anthem.
Oh, cool. So it's before an actual ball game.
It is before a ball game.
Baseball.
Yeah. Yes. Baseball. So, so we have the opportunity, which is so fun, to
that is fun.
Hundreds of people, and it's a competition, but you know that for us, it's being there, it's being able to play in front of the St. Louis community, and I feel like we have had so much wonderful support in the St. Louis community. Our neighbors have been incredible. People in our neighborhood during lockdown, we couldn't practice as a band inside our house. We just felt, you know, funky about that. So we were practicing in our front porch.
Oh, cool.
It was awesome.
And so your neighbors loved it because they had a concert and they didn't even have to leave their houses.
Right. Neighbors would come over. They'd bring chairs. They'd bring, you know, bring a beer with them and sit and chat with their neighbors.
Okay. We know it was more than a beer, but we'll let you get by.
Right. But it was so fun.
The fact that y'all were invited to do that, that is a great lesson for all the entrepreneurs out there. You never know who is watching you.
Right.
And you never know who is listening to you and paying attention to you. Most of the time, you're going to feel like you're just speaking out into the void
Right.
and that nothing is coming back.
Right.
But the vast majority of people never interact with your social media or
Right.
anything,
Right.
but they're watching. And so if you
Yep.
keep yourself out there consistently, eventually you do get noticed, and eventually somebody raises their hand and says, "Well, I've been watching you." And
Yeah, and I feel like even if you connect with one person, if
yeah,
one person is like, "I love that song because I
right.
connected with it on some deep level," that is totally satisfying to me, you know?
Exactly.
So, I am thrilled that, that we have this opportunity.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for it, and I think no matter what, it's gonna be fun, and,
Well, let's talk about the ticket giveaway.
oh, yeah, sure.
So we don't know yet. So to preface it, y'all, we're going to have a ticket giveaway. We don't know yet exactly how we're going to run it or anything. We'll be announcing that in about a week. But tell them kind of the backstory of the tickets and what is
Right.
involved.
So for this showcase, each artist that takes part gets receives a grouping of tickets for the 100 level, seating, and you can turn around and sell them. You can earn money for your band,
Mhm.
and we just felt like, I don't know, it's probably because of our age, partly, but we thought what would be really cool is to ask for donations, and put the money forward ourselves, and be able to give away tickets to
Mhm.
people who maybe don't normally have the opportunity to go
Yeah.
to a Cardinals game, or people who maybe have been struggling, or just need that extra kind of boost of support. So we thought that
Yeah.
it would be really great to be able to give away some tickets to that game.
I'm so excited about that, and I'm excited to a little announcement that as part of that, you're partnering with your nephew, Colin, the professional race car driver, him and his organization, 1111 Veteran Project, because 1111 Veteran Project is all about bringing access to resources for people. And when I say resources, it doesn't just have to be like education and mental health and everything. It's
Mhm.
holistically. So the
Mhm.
fact that you're partnering with Colin and 1111 Veteran Project, and we will be announcing next week when we announce it, we're still working out the details, but Annette Wittenberger, our dear friend who is a veteran and who has a podcast called A Wild Ride Called Life, and she helps people with mental health, process their own mental health. And one of the things that she does is music therapy, where she helps people write their song,
That's
their
beautiful.
life
That's
in
beautiful.
song, people who
Wow.
aren't even musicians. So I'm thrilled that Annette is going to partner with us and through 1111 Veteran Project. And you're going to have how many tickets you have, or are you going to have to give away?
So at this point, we've already given away quite a few, but I think we have about 60 tickets
Okay.
to give away. We might have more, we might have less. We're still kind of looking into who it's still, I guess, being figured out.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it's much better to figure it out before we announce all the details, but just wanna
Yeah.
tell people out there, when we wanna drop that bug in your ear so that you can pay attention next week, because we'll be announcing it on social and so forth. And the date is what, June 11th?
June 11th. Yeah. And the awesome thing about it is these tickets, they're great tickets.
Mhm.
I love any section of, Bush
Yeah.
Stadium. Doesn't matter. I don't care about being way up higher, but these
Yeah,
100 levels. And I think that there's some really nice, it's nice placement.
that's cool. And
Yeah.
for
So
people who have never been able to go to a professional sports game, or professional sports of any, whether it's professional racing or baseball
yeah.
or football. The first, I believe, the first professional sports game I went to, I'm pretty sure, was in the 90s when I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and
Oh
we
yeah.
got season tickets.
That's
And the
great.
first game was like, oh my God, because you're in this huge stadium and there's names that you recognize and all that, and there's bands that come and
Absolutely.
play halftime. And I mean, we grew up, I didn't know it at the time, but we grew up below the poverty level. I just didn't
Mhm.
know it till I was in college and took sociology.
Sure.
And they show
Yeah,
you the numbers and you're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know. But
right.
anyway, there's so many people out there that take things like that for granted, and
Mhm.
they have no idea that the vast majority of people never even get the opportunity to go.
Right.
So I think it's really cool that instead of selling them, y'all are giving them away.
Great, great. Yeah. Yeah, and, we're really looking forward to it. I feel like
Yeah.
that's, it's gonna be fun, and, we hope they like our music, but that's certainly, it's just, I feel like more providing the opportunity for, someone to be able to enjoy a
Yeah.
day with Cardinals, and
When do how often do y'all perform? And what types of places do you usually perform?
so one of our favorite places to perform, it's called Evangeline's. It's a music sort of bistro
Mhm.
area, and we really like performing there. We've been in the studio a lot
Yeah.
this year, and so that's been great. But any of our weekends have been spent in the studio lately.
Yeah. Now do
Um,
you and I know you said you advertise nationally, so do you tour do you play nationally?
we haven't really been, especially since lockdown.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
haven't really been interested in that. We've been interested in just
yeah.
being home. Um,
Well, and it's great though because it's letting you lay the foundation. You're doing things progressively, laying that foundation instead of going, "Woo, let's go out and play everywhere
yeah,
we can."
we've played. It's really fun. We've actually played on our front porch more than anything, which has been really
I
fun.
love that though.
During lockdown, nobody was playing anywhere, and
Do
so
you
we
have
were
a YouTube channel or anything where you have videos of y'all playing
Mhm.
out there?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a website, and on the
Are
website
those videos on your website?
they are.
Oh,
There's
okay.
quite a few.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll share that, but it's lostonthemetro.com, right?
Yes, on the metro.com. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll put that in the comments and so
Great.
forth. But tell us how you came out up with the name Lost on the Metro.
So both David and I are language teachers. So we taught French, and I taught French, he taught French, and he taught Spanish as well. So we've done a lot of traveling. We went with
Mhm.
student groups to France. We both had, before we met, he'd lived in Costa Rica for a year, and I traveled to Japan and France, and so we both have been in those experiences where you're lost. You don't know what's going on. You're trying to figure things out. But we both sort of like that,
Yeah, I
and we
love it.
both enjoy kind of that tolerance of ambiguity.
Uh-huh.
And we both enjoy that about being somewhere else and kind of
Well,
having
and
this
it's
sort
an
of
adventure
yeah,
because you can't plan it, and it's like, "Ooh,
right.
what's gonna happen next?"
Yeah, and you learn so much about yourself when
Yeah.
you're, sort of figuring stuff out and finding your way. And I think
Mhm.
we both just feel it's okay to feel lost. It's okay to be finding your way. And it's like it's okay in your 50s to
Mhm.
still be finding your way and figuring things out. And I think I'm glad that I'm not sort of stuck in one direction, and I'm glad now that I look back and I think this is still an adventure, and we still
Mhm.
don't we have all these sort of possibilities for
Yeah. You could be doing this for 25 more years, girl.
yeah, absolutely.
You
And
know?
I love the fact that even if we get so we get tons of support on TikTok and Instagram.
Mhm.
But every once in a while, somebody will be like, you're not 25 years old.
Oh,
I
shut up.
feel like I feel like because we're Gen Xers,
Mhm.
it's easy to be like,
Yeah, really. So, who cares? That's
okay,
funny.
right.
I love
You
it.
don't have to like us. I mean,
Yeah.
I am really enjoying this experience, and we're learning so much about ourselves and each other, and just how to be business people, how to
Mhm.
thrive in an environment that it's just there's always something more to learn.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Ryan introduced us because y'all are the perfect example for disrupt your now, for living that. Stop waiting for someday. You know, I always tell people someday never comes.
I
So
love
when you're
it.
working, and I'm not saying be irresponsible, but when you're going, oh, I'll do this 5 more years and then I'll do this, or you know, whatever. Someday
Right,
I'll do this. Probably you're never going to do it because life takes over. And
right,
so if you do have some kind of dream, figure out a way, even if it's a little bit at a time, to work towards your dream. Or maybe you
right.
don't even know what your dream is yet, but do
Yep,
so, you know, try to get in tune with yourself more. And which
right.
is why I wrote the book Disrupt Your Now. I've got 50 entrepreneurs in it,
I love
including
it.
Ryan. And it starts with, and it's a bunch of short stories. I say it's a bathroom book for business because you can pick it up and start
I
anywhere.
love it.
5 sections. It starts with you. What do you want out of life?
Mhm,
What do you enjoy and not like? And what are you good at and whatever? And the second part is the people who surround you, because
mhm.
that is so important. If you surround yourself with naysayers and people
Mhm.
who don't want to see you succeed,
Right,
you're not going to. And a large part of that, it's not necessarily that they don't want you to, but a lot of people think they're protecting you.
right. Yeah.
Oh, you know, they can't do it and we don't want them to be. So they either think they're protecting you or they're afraid that you're going to outgrow them
Mm,
and leave them
mhm,
behind. So that's the second part. The third is learning to think creatively. Fourth is more about the actual businessy part. And the
mhm.
last part is about having a higher purpose, which is mine and Ryan. That's one of our big things at this stage in our lives is we
Yeah.
working towards having a higher purpose for everything.
Mhm.
But I just love that y'all are living what I've been preaching for so long to people. It just makes me so happy.
Thank you so much for saying that. I do feel like this has been a wonderful journey of discovery and self-discovery, just, learning to have confidence that,
Yeah.
not everybody might like, our music, but we love it, and it's
Mhm.
a way of creatively expressing ourselves that is very fulfilling, and just being able
Mhm.
to share that with others, and also be okay with kind of the ups and downs of
Yeah.
starting our own business, at this point in life, and just figuring things out along the way. It's also funny, we're both incredibly introverted, and so like playing live has been kind of an interesting thing for us.
But
And
I want to ask you because I'm an introvert too. Do you
yeah,
find it easier to be up there in front of a bunch of people than to have a conversation with several people, like close face to face with
yeah,
people? Yeah,
yeah, because it's like I can
same.
sort of not hide behind our
Yeah,
music, but like the music is the sort of buffer,
right. I
and
don't, it doesn't bother
yeah,
me at all to speak in front of hundreds or thousands of
mhm,
people.
that's so
And
interesting.
I mean, I will, it's not like I can't talk to people or anything one on one or
Yeah,
with a few
right.
people, but I tend to,
Sure.
if it's in like a group of, you
Mhm.
know, 6 to 12 or 15 or whatever people, I
Yeah.
tend to pull back, especially when it's
Mhm.
people who are know-it-alls. They think I'm just like whatever they could be, you know. And so a lot of people have a hard time believing that I'm an introvert because I do talk so
Yeah.
much.
Well,
Like
and
talking to somebody like this.
right, and you have coping skills. You know how to be successful, and part of being successful is figuring out how to be the extrovert that you need to be
Yeah.
for the time period that you need to be. And I feel like I do that too, and my husband does that too.
Well,
And
and you made a great Just sorry. You made a great point about it's okay if they don't like you. That's a huge lesson for entrepreneurs out there because
right,
you don't need everybody to like you. You
right,
don't need most entrepreneurs, especially if they're doing the kind of thing that I'm doing, you know, professional
mhm,
services or
yeah,
whatever. It's different if you're running a big business that's like a commodity.
mhm,
That's different.
yeah,
Um, but most people who run in the kind of businesses that I like to work with, you don't even need that many clients.
yeah,
So by trying to get everybody to like you, you're turning away the people who would be perfect, who you could help the most. But you're also, they won't ever find you because there's that saying, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're true to yourself and you're doing the music that you love and that you've put your heart into, then when the right people hear it, they're like, they're my people.
Yeah, it's so true. I guess I didn't realize how many introverts are musicians. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I kind of maybe thought of that in the subconsciously, but there
Mhm.
are many introverted musicians, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting. But I also have loved connecting with some of our friends on that level, on that sort of level of creating music together, and
Mhm.
that's very, very special.
Yeah.
That's a really special thing to be on the stage with other people and be creating something and having that musical bond. And yeah,
So y'all have friends that play with y'all sometimes?
we do, yeah. And the sort of makeup of the band has it kind of ebbs and flows,
Mhm.
and we're okay with that. I mean,
Yeah.
we have this awesome sound engineer that we work with. We actually have
Mhm.
two of them, and we really enjoy working with both of them, and they have wonderful ideas,
Mhm.
and then we have a few
Cool.
friends who play live with us, whenever they're available, and it's been
Yeah.
great. It's
That's
just
cool.
great.
Before we go, and this is not really entrepreneur related, but I wanted to tell you because you're a teacher, um, and I'm sure you know this, but a lot of people don't understand how intrinsically math and music are intertwined. And
Mhm,
a friend of mine back in the early 90s was a recruiter for a technical
mhm,
placement firm. And I was a musician, she was a musician, and she was telling me that, and we had met through a software company that I was the
mhm,
controller for, and she was a coder. And when she took that job, she was telling me that if they interviewed two people,
mhm,
and one is a kid that had tons of experience, had a degree and all kinds of
mhm,
experience coding and everything, but wasn't a musician,
hmm.
and the other one was a musician, like high school band or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and had no experience, that they would pick that musician
Wow.
over the person with the education and the
That's
experience,
fascinating.
because music is so intertwined with that. And I
Mhm.
thought it was very interesting. I was like, "Oh, that makes sense though."
Yeah,
So in that way, that kind of ties back to the kids at your school, to help
yeah.
maybe you can use that in some way to
That's
help
fascinating.
them
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's really fascinating. Well, we do love it. It's an amazing process, and it's very organic the way that we write
Mhm.
our music. It's a very organic process, and I think part of that too is being okay with starting something, stopping something, writing, or having lyrics up and then saying no, those lyrics aren't going to work for
Yeah.
that part, and no,
Mhm.
let's scratch that, and just being okay with a messy process.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
loving it and learning from that,
yeah,
because
and
nothing's ever gonna be perfect, nothing
right.
and that's the other thing about business. Like, I've had my business now, I've been an entrepreneur since 1990. I've had the business that I own now since 96, but I always tell people the one constant has been change. It's
Yep,
never the same business from
yep,
year to year. I'm constantly changing because I get bored, and even though to outsiders it may look like I'm doing the same thing, I'm
yeah,
not really, because I'm always evolving, and the work that I do evolves.
absolutely, and I love that too. I feel like our music has evolved so much over the last 5 years, and we sing one song from our first,
Mhm.
12 or whatever. We
Yeah.
still sing one, and all the rest we've just evolved as we've become just
Yeah.
uh, evolving musicians, and the music has evolved, and I love that too. That
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have video of the very first thing that y'all did, that talent show?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is that on your
yeah.
site?
I'll find it for you. I'll send
Oh,
it to
yeah,
you.
because it would be so fun to see 5 years ago
It
and
is
see
pretty
you now,
cool
and
actually.
inspiring to see the growth, and for people to go, "Oh my god, it was this talent show spawned this whole
Yeah,
venture."
I'll send it to you. It's pretty fun.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
That's great.
Well, Jilly, thank you so much for joining me. Tell everybody again how they can find out more about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, we are Lost on the Metro STL on Instagram. And I think we're the same on Facebook, like Lost on the Metro or Lost on the Metro STL. And we're so grateful to be here. This has been
it's been a blast, and I can't wait to announce next week how we're going to do the giveaway, and I can't wait to introduce you to Annette. You're going to love her.
It sounds great. I'd love it.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and I will see y'all next week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.